Let's talk about them there ducks.
I was listening to Pump Up the Jam.
I should have known. Welcome back, listeners, to episode 76 of the Lasercomb podcast where two guys comb through classic television with a fine-tooth laser. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
And I'm Christopher Siege, the other one. That's me.
Tis Cal and the other one.
Yeah. NeoCal and friend.
NeoCal and guest host Christopher Siege. We're doing a little 20s.
Or if you hover over Cal, if you hover over the video of me and look at what I have named myself in the Zoom call.
He has named himself Scrooge McSiege.
Yes, I have. And the reason why I named myself Scrooge McSiege is because we're reviewing the final episode of a little show called DuckTales. Now, normally I would put in the intro music or intro video or whatever right after I announce what it is, but Disney's copyright cops are so overzealous they would probably come to my house and take a sledgehammer to my computer personally.
They'll send the Pinkertons.
If I did that. They just might.
I changed my name too.
Oh, what is it? Splooge McCall. Was the splooging due to Magica, the site of Magica Dispel?
Yes.
You described her as over text, the like hot goth MILF duck wizard.
Duck wizard.
Yeah.
The hot goth MILF duck wizard. Watching shows like this is 2017, but we grew up with OG DuckTales, right? Makes sense why there's a lot of furries out there.
Oh yeah, most people who are furries are people who our age who grew up in the 90s watching a lot of cartoons with anthropomorphic animal characters.
A wave of 80s and 90s anthropomorphic animal characters explains a lot.
I wonder if anyone fetishizes turtles. There's got to be someone.
Well, I know that there's furries. The duck or the bird people are featheries. The dragon or the lizard people are scalies.
And people who love Ninja Turtles are Shellies.
You could be telling the truth. Well, consider us Shellies, people. But yeah, like amphibians.
Open up my shell and
stick my turtle head out.
Slap my bow staff. Yeah.
Slap my bow staff. Would amphibians slimies?
Fishies?
Fishies? They have scales, but they wouldn't be considered scalies because those are like dinosaurs and dragons.
Crustaceans?
Crustacons.
Crustacon, terrorize.
Yeah, good point. Like, what if like your thing is like being a giant shrimp, right? Like,
Yeah.
Or maybe we're encroaching in unexplored territory here. Let us know in the comments.
Man, I'm a crab. I'm a crab.
Have to remember what the boss taught me about CQC. Crab battle.
Did you ever it was a video that kind of went viral like over a decade ago now, but it was Team Fortress 2. It was everyone were on this one team were all playing as spies, and they were all in crab poses. And someone was
loved Team Fortress 2.
Was like, I'm a crab. I'm a crab. Nah, I'm a crab. Don't shoot me.
I'm a crab. Oh man, TF2. What a glorious time to be into gaming at the time. I was a big spy player.
I was a
Did
medic.
you? Oh, you're a medic. I was
Yeah.
big spy and soldier.
Yeah, the only reason I fell off of playing it was because my ex-wife stole my gaming PC when she moved out and never returned it.
Son of a bitch.
So I didn't have a gaming PC for a few years, and
And then you
then I
moved
just
on.
I just by the time I got one again, then I kind of just I already hadn't played it for a few years at that point, and I think tried playing one match, and the game is so like dramatically different now.
It is that you have different weapons and different items and different like kits and yeah, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where's my classic vanilla Team Fortress 2? Almost sounding like Scrooge McDuck. Back in my day.
Oh, back in my day.
Scout had a shotgun and that was good enough for me.
So DuckTales, for the uninitiated, was a cartoon that premiered in 1987, starring Scrooge McDuck, who is a rich, crotchety old man who went on adventures along with his pilot, Launchpad McQuack, and his nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Now, I've never known which one is which.
It's like hack and slash and reboot.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Even watching this, we watched like a by the way, folks, we landed on the finale again. Yeah. Literally season 3 finale.
DuckTales.
It was feature length.
It was, yeah, it was over an hour. That's something we've tried to avoid in the past, but well, gosh dang it.
I like the screenshot you sent me, or I can't. Yeah, and it was like dubious. Oh, what was it? Like the last episode, and it was like dubious citation needed or citation needed dubious. Or did I send that to you? Yeah.
Oh, you sent it to me, and the thing that I took away from looking at the screenshot was citation needed, and then in brackets dubious. Because I don't know, I don't know. I'd had a few drinks at that point, and just like reading that for whatever reason like cracked me up. Citation needed, dubious.
Oh yeah, because he had been like, hey, actually the last part is like 3 parts. And I went and like looked, and I'm like, huh? 323 to 325. Dubious hyphen discuss.
So DuckTales lasted for I think it ran until 1990 or 1991. There was a TV movie that I think acted as a sequel to the original finale, and it led to a spin-off that was a very big part of the younger days of my childhood, which was Darkwing Duck.
Let's get dangerous.
Let's get dangerous.
Fuck yeah.
And it was part of the Disney Afternoon, which was a programming block that aired from the early to mid 90s. And it included shows like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop.
All the other furry shit that we watched.
Bonkers, which is one that I find not a lot of people remember, but I really liked.
Wow, you're the only one. Wow, that just like opened up neural pathways in my brain that I haven't. Like I can remember what certain smells smelled like from that era.
Yeah, Bonkers was a fun show. It was about, you know, the premise of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's like there's the real world and then there's like a cartoon dimension. Basically, that's kind of the plot of Bonkers. There's like a toon realm and like there's like the real world.
Yeah, except the whole thing's all in the cartoon, but there's like canonically there's a cartoonic realm and then like a more realistically drawn
with humans,
like human realm. Yeah, there's like a orange police cat, right?
Yeah, and he was partnered up with a human cop, no nonsense cop whose name was Piquel. Because the joke was everyone
Wow.
always called him Pickle, and he would be
Oh,
like, "It's Pickle." Yeah.
right,
Anyway,
right.
I liked that show. Disney Afternoon Adventures, a fun programming block. That and over on Fox Kids, we had like Batman the animated series and the X-Men cartoon. It was
What a
always
time, man.
yeah, it was always a because I think Batman the animated series and X-Men were on. They were on during the same programming block, so I always kind of had to pick and choose whether I wanted to watch like Batman or Goof Troop.
That's a tough one.
Batman usually won,
Batman usually won,
but sometimes it was Goof Troop.
especially if you've seen the episode of Batman.
Yeah. So 30 years after the original cartoon premiered, in 2017, Disney XD launched a reboot of DuckTales, which is the show that we're talking about today. By the way, this is another Patreon pick, and it was pitched to us by our longtime patron, Cone Killer Confusor.
Yeah.
He pitched this to us after we had done Tripping the Rift as kind of a palate cleanser, if you will, after
Uh,
reviewing something so terrible. So thank you, Triple C.
well, there's things to be learned from the Laser Comb podcast. And one of them is sometimes the member berries are bitter, rotten.
Sometimes the member berries have spoiled.
And that was a show that even I was like, oh, remember this? Oh, yeah, let's go check it out. On paper, I'm like, oh, I should love this. I love space shit, right? Giant, like android boobs, right? But like, did we say that in the very least, it was like the top three worst things we had ever
It's up
reviewed?
there. It's that and the Penguin Show are
1, 2, 3 penguins or 3, 2, 1 penguins. Yeah.
yeah. Either or.
Um,
Who
for different,
cares?
vastly different reasons. Yeah. But
Both
this,
both extraordinarily juvenile shows, but in very different ways.
yeah. But this, I had never seen 2017 DuckTales, despite everyone telling me it was very good.
Yeah, I watched the first season back when it was airing, and I watched some of the second season. The show ran for three seasons, and I
Hmm.
just kind of fell off of it for one reason or another. But I really, really, really liked this show. Like this show is laugh out loud funny to me. Not quite so much in these episodes that we reviewed because these episodes are kind of like
And that this is the end game
yeah, yeah.
of like I was like, holy, there's like 60 characters in these episodes here. Not all have the spotlight, right? Some of them are just highlighted in those like cubes they're stuck in.
Well, yeah, and indeed, there's some really interesting cameos in this. Like at the end, uh, after everyone kind of stands like in unity against the villain, I noticed a big bear that kind of looked like Baloo from Tailspin, and I'm like, but it's not. His fur is not the right color, and so I looked him up, and it's a grown up. What's his name? Kit Cloudkicker, the kid from Tailspin, but it's a grown up version of him because it's been 30 years.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow. So you just randomly decided to individually look that up because you're like, it looks different than Baloo.
Yeah, I was like, he's got like the same basic shape as Baloo, but like his fur is not the right color.
That's wild. Huh.
Yeah, Kit Cloudkicker, I think was his name, was the kid in Tailspin. But yeah, it's him as an adult. Which I'm
Wild.
like, wow, that's an interesting cameo.
Right?
The Rescue Rangers briefly appear.
I thought I was like, was that the Rescue Rangers?
Darkwing Duck and Gizmo Duck are featured pretty prominently in this
Like
episode.
they're part of the main like strike force. Yeah, like they're
And even this I thought was pretty fun. Even Darkwing Duck's adopted niece Gosalyn is in the episode.
right. Goslin. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interestingly enough, she's voiced by what's her name, Stephanie Beatriz, who was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She played Rosa.
Yeah.
By the way, this show and these episodes in particular, it's a real who's who of hey, it's that person.
It is, yeah.
It really is. Like Scrooge McDuck is voiced by David Tennant of Doctor Who fame, and also of he played Kilgrave in the first season of Jessica Jones.
Mm-hmm. I always forget about that.
And Danny Pudi from Community is one of the nephews. Ben Schwartz is another one of the nephews.
Yeah.
Who Jim Radish, who was the principal of in Community, is the scientist guy.
Oh, that's nice. That was a great character.
Gizmo Duck himself is voiced by Lin-Manuel Miranda, of all people. The guy,
Oh.
the Hamilton guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I know.
It really is, like you said, it's the who's who of DuckTales.
Hey, it's that person.
Of hey, it's that guy. Yeah.
I'd
And
like
you
to
know
be able,
what?
I'd like to be able to take credit for that, but I actually heard someone say that on another podcast and thought it was
Yeah,
funny.
that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Probably.
it's Bibbs and Whitney. Whitney said, "It's a real who's the cast is a real who's who of hey, it's that guy." And
That's a good quote.
yeah, it is. So I've decided to steal it. Yes. All right, I'm gonna go to the IMDb page for this episode. By the way, we're reviewing the final episode of the series, episode 69. Nice, which is feature length. Now on Disney Plus, which is where I watched it, it's broken up into 3 episodes. But when it originally aired on March 15th of 2021, so 3 years ago now, when it originally aired as one like feature length episode. Webby is voiced by Kate Micucci, who, if you look at a picture of her, you'll know exactly who she is. She's been in a lot of things. She's got a very memorable face. Is what I will say.
Yeah, her.
Yeah, and let's see who else is in this top cast. No, I want all.
And my partner had introduced me to Garfunkel and Oates.
Oh yeah,
which is how I first. Yeah.
Bradford Buzzard, who is the main bad of this episode, is voiced by Mark Evan Jackson, who played notably played Kevin on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. And there's like a villain with like a beak. Steel plays Steelbeak, yeah. And he's got such an iconic voice. He sounds the same in everything he plays.
He's played by Jason Mantzoukas.
That's his name, right?
Also from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He played the like crazy detective guy.
He's also, he's a voice actor in a lot of things. Like I think he's even in like The Good Place, like a simulation or something in The Good Place.
Giancarlo Esposito, who notably played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad, plays a character named Phantom Bot in this episode.
A lot of people in a lot of things. Yeah, there's ghosts, there's statues with Scrooge heads. That thing is the most
voiced by Keith David,
which he's just been silent up until this episode.
Yeah.
That thing's for somebody who hasn't watched any of the series, that being a recurring character is the most confusing thing to me. It's a statue of a horse that walks on its hind 2 legs, but its head is Scrooge.
It is a living headless horse, anthropomorphic horse that walks on 2 legs. What it has on its head is a statue of Scrooge McDuck.
Yes,
yeah.
That is what he said. that doesn't clear anything up. I guess it's revealed in this that he's a headless horse of the apocalypse. But then he grows a horse head and it can talk.
Yeah, he is. What's his name? Manny the headless man. Manny the headless man horse, I think is what he's named.
Nice. Manny the Headless Man Horse.
Jaleel White plays a character named Gene the Genie.
Very
Jaleel White,
clever.
Steve Urkel himself.
Nice.
Yeah, what a cast!
What a
What a
cast.
cast! So because it's feature length, I say we, instead of just recapping like everything, we can kind of just talk about things in broad strokes.
That's what I was going to suggest. Yeah, we're both on the same page there. But the Who's Who is a character that I ended up really liking. Webby.
Yeah, Webby's great.
Um, they're throwing a birthday party for her, and Webby is becoming ingratiated into like the family. I don't know her history exactly, but it's nebulous. Oh, and she finds out in the episode, but
Yeah, her
they
origin really surprised me.
it's yeah, interesting. And but she ends up getting uh they end up no, sorry. The whole gang ends up finding a lab, an enemy lab. There's like a big shadowy board of villains. Um
Fowl.
yeah.
Fowl, who
Um
frequently clashed with Darkwing Duck back in the 90s cartoon. And indeed, Steelbeak is actually a Darkwing Duck villain.
mhm. And they come across this and they manage to get through the base because the one with the hat, um, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the layout is like his favorite like double O duck game.
Right.
I imagine it's like GoldenEye 64. And the base is mostly empty except for some clones. And one is blue themed and one is pink, yellow themed, I think. And their names are May and June.
Yeah, and indeed, we find out very quickly that they're clones of Webby. Webby, who
Yeah,
is the granddaughter of Scrooge's friend and confidant, Mrs. Beakley,
she's pretty cool.
who we also find out. And the show, like, I don't think ever really like hid this at all. Like, it was never like a big revelation. But she used to be like a secret agent, and
Mhm.
she's retired now.
Yeah, and that's her grandma. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so they're clones, and they're like, "That's weird. Why?" And the adults are immediately like, "Okay, this is sus.
yeah.
Fuck this."
They're clones made by Fowl. Like something is rotten in the state of Duckburg.
And they act just like normal like girls, and they're like, "No, everybody, go off, go do normal things." And they not imprison them, but like kind of keep them away from everyone else. But Webby decides to go and the show being what it is, Webby decides to go and go talk to them.
Indeed,
And right away they're sus because it's like they're trying to like throw doubt on May and June, or trying to like throw doubt on
they're very clearly like trying to manipulate her.
yeah.
And indeed, they end up doing so effectively that when uh, her
Magic
friends,
Girl.
Lena and Violet, I think is the other one's name. Lena
The
is
Wizard Girl is cool.
Lena, I really is a really good character. I really like her. They are like basically are trying to say like, hey, we're your family, like yada yada yada.
Found
And
family, yeah.
yeah, found family. And the clones, May and June, are like, no, but we're your real family. And
Yeah, because like by blood, and don't you want to find out who your real parents are?
and they end up succeeding in driving a wedge between Webby and her friends, like very, very quickly. Meanwhile, there is a subplot going on where Donald Duck and presumably his girlfriend are planning on going off on a sailing adventure together.
Mm-hmm. And his
And
sister is trying to has a problem with it. See,
his sister Della, who is the nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie, it's her mom. It's their mom.
ew.
A big thing in the first season.
Uncle.
Uncle Donald.
Donald. Yeah, right. Right. Okay. Yeah.
A big thing in the first season was she had been missing most of their lives, and
they thought she was
they thought that
presumed dead.
They thought that she was gone, but like Scrooge never gave up on looking for her, and it turns out she actually like crashed on the moon or something.
Moon, because the end of season 1. Oh, by the way, I accidentally watched the wrong episode, and I watched the very last episode of season 1 first, which is when goth milf duck wizard
Magica
is Magica Dispel. Great naming, by the way, in the whole show is introduced, and at the very end of that, it shows kind of like a clip of like somehow she's like alive on the moon in like a base or something like that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh shit, we going to the moon, folks.
Moon ducks
in space.
Moon ducks on the moon.
Moon ducks on the moon in space. 3D.
HD remix.
Remastered.
Turbo edition.
Versus Marvel.
Later on in the episode, when Scrooge and Della are fighting this big, like weird, like Frankenstein monster type thing. Scrooge actually like hops around on his cane like a pogo stick in reference to the DuckTales NES game, which I thought was pretty rad.
That is what that was.
That's what that's from. He didn't do that in the original show. That was straight up the video game. Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah, the SNES game, right?
I think it was on NES.
Was it SNES? Oh,
pretty sure it was NES. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of little subtle things. It's NES because it was 8-bit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna have to double check. You ever get a digital video game library that's so friggin' ginormous on like multiple platforms where you think of a video game and you're like, do I own that? I feel like I do.
Right. And it's like a Humble Bundle, maybe? Like, yeah.
Like, I feel like they released a few years ago a collection that had like all the NES like Disney games. It had like DuckTales and like Rescue Rangers and Darkwing Duck. I feel like I own it because I know I've played it.
Right.
And it's like, yeah. I must own it.
You must.
Because how else would I have played it? It's not like renting video games is a thing anymore.
Imagine being able to rent a Nintendo game. Just imagine.
I don't know why digital game rentals aren't a thing.
They kind of were, or maybe they stopped doing it. PlayStation is a mess. They have 4 different like PlayStation Plus like tiers, and you can rent games, but like you can stream them with PlayStation Now. They kind of let you rent games. But yeah, it should be a thing.
I guess on Xbox, the closest thing to that is Game Pass.
What I was thinking, yeah. Kind of like that, because you pay for the month. You just have access to.
Remember when we worked at Blockbuster? Was it called Game Pass? But there was a thing that they introduced where you could pay like $30 a month and you would get unlimited game rentals. The thing was,
you could only have a certain amount out at a time.
You could only have one. You could
switch them out as many times as you want.
You could only have one out at a time, or I think you could pay an extra $10 a month and you could have 2 out at a time.
Was that it?
I think so, yeah. Was it called Blockbuster Game Pass?
It was, right?
I think so. Folks, we're talking, this is going back like 15 years now.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to Google Blockbuster
Game Pass.
I'm not going to find anything.
Probably not.
No. Oh, it was. I found somebody took a picture of a flyer. I'll send it. Yeah, it was called
I need to see this
Game. I'm going to send it to you. But yeah, it was you're right. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, that sounds familiar.
Sweet.
I'll send
Those were the
that in the
days.
chat. How
It was
long did that
surprisingly
last
a
for?
hard sell for people,
Right?
which
It
I'm
make
like,
They were ahead of the times, man.
yeah.
We send file. There it is. Your computer. Aha. Sent in the
Yes.
chat. Men of Valor. Pikmin
Splooge
2.
McCall shared a file. Yeah, yeah, sweet. Yeah, Blockbuster Game Pass.
Goddamn right.
Offer ends 10/25/04.
Get unlimited gaming for only $14.99 on your first month. Play as many games as you want for as long as you want.
What? So Blockbuster should be suing Microsoft.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yes. The like 3 franchise owners that are left in the world should be suing Microsoft.
I think
the
there is
multi-billion-dollar
I think there's only
corporation.
2 or maybe
Is it
just
2
one
now?
The one that was in Alaska final that like uh that John Oliver was like heavily promoting, that one ended up closing down.
No. Well, we went from 3 to 2 to
I think the one in Bend, Oregon is the last one that's still going. But it was funny though because like
you're right. There's one left
for a while.
The one in Oregon.
Yeah, there were like 3 of them. There was that one. There was the one up in Alaska, and I think there was one in like Illinois or something. But they were all calling themselves the last Blockbuster, and it's like, close, but
there can only be one.
I tell
the
you,
last Blockbuster.
They tell you I want to, if we do a Highlander podcast someday, which I really want to, I want to name it There Can Be Only Some.
There can be only some. That's pretty good.
Oh fuck! I completely lost where we got like pretty far in the weeds there. I completely lost where we were.
Dead. But yeah, in all good old yield Duke and Tales.
So
clones.
Donald and his presumably girlfriend want to go on a sailing adventure together around the world, and Della Duck thinks that she's coming, but Donald's like, actually, I kind of just want this to be an us thing.
He's like, so the lady I'm boning kind of don't want my sister and her and I to be the only ones on a boat for 3 months. And I'm like, lady, like download Tinder or something, like like
Tin Duck.
Ductor. Doesn't really work.
Mr. Tin Ductor.
Mr. Tin Ductor.
Oh.
But eventually, yeah, that's happening in the background, right? And Donald is like, I'm not even going to try to do his like voice. I'm not 12 anymore. My throat probably can't handle it. But yeah, that's happening. And then it's revealed that, lo and behold, the one with the hat, the red one, Huey, Dewey, or Louie.
When I do a voice impression, I like to take it seriously. With voices like this. Cheers.
Worst impressions ever. What we need to do is find people that do better impressions and bring them into our podcast.
Yes, that's exactly what we need to do.
Yes. And
Huey, Dewey, or Louie.
Or Louie. And Huey, Dewey, or Louie, the one with the hat, the red one, sees that they're stealing shit. The clones, May and June.
Yeah. Including this big-ass sword.
Big-ass glowing magic sword.
Yeah. And then they end up kidnapping Webby. And
or do they? Dun, dun, dun. It's very obvious, but they let the audience know quickly that in the fight, because one of them, I think it's like June, successfully steals the artifacts, and she's like, May, beat up Webby because it's revealed that they're actually like working with Fowl, beat up Webby and bring her along. But Webby beats up May and or June and switches clothes
Right.
to go and get answers. And off they get. They get in Steelbeak, like helicopter or something. They fly off to the lost library of Alexandria.
One thing. Okay, so Huey is the one in red. He's the one voiced by Danny Pudi. And Dewey is the blue one, who's voiced by Ben Schwartz. And Louie is the green one.
We'll never know.
So, Dewey and Louie, this made me laugh. Like, they're watching this show called Ottoman Empire. And it's literally two, like, burly guys moving Ottomans around.
It's like a moving show.
Yeah.
And their moving company is called Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
That's so fucking good.
that when it was like, we now return to Ottoman Empire, and it's two burly guys like literally moving an ottoman,
moving a couch.
that I laughed out loud at that.
Right. That is good. And one thing I quickly, like within minutes of like watching or even the wrong episode sometimes, is that it's just well written. Like even though it's like for kids, like it's also not.
Yeah, totally.
Like all the member berries clearly aren't for like 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds.
Yeah,
right?
This is a show for 10-year-olds and also like people who were watching the original DuckTales when they were like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the writing's just like good. Like a kid will find like something funny, but then like a kid won't find like the Ottoman Empire like bit funny.
No, a child's not. That's going to go completely over a kid's head. But like a grown-ass adult can see a moving show called Ottoman Empire and think that's hilarious.
I enjoyed that. And again, because there's so much happening, this isn't like probably one of the funnier episodes. But
no, it definitely isn't.
Like you said, it's the it's the who's who of who's that guy.
It's
that guy.
This episode is called The Last Adventure, and indeed, like it feels like a last adventure. They go on one big last hurrah to finally like take down like the big bad. We bring back basically every character who's been in the show.
The duck, even the Duckverse, even who's not in the show.
Yeah, I missed it, but I was reading that apparently Bonkers D Bobcat like even pops up in one shot in the background.
Oh, I didn't see him.
No, I didn't see him either, but according to the wiki, he appears. So this episode is intended to not only like wrap up DuckTales as a show, but also to like as like a big homage to like the Disney like adventure afternoon from the 90s. And yeah, and indeed the gargoyle, even the gargoyles homage.
Yeah. As like the stone skin like breaks away and like the wings like like stretch out.
So in the third episode, the third part, we're I'm going to jump ahead for a second. Just
we're jumping ahead. All of basically we got to the part where it's like, okay, gang, everyone needs to go and track Webby down.
Yeah.
Because she's missing, and so are the clones.
And at first, the kids try to come, and the adults are like, no, you need to stay here. And they're like, no, they like, this is our family. Like,
listen here, old man. Are we gonna do this thing where you just let us come, or do we have to do this song and dance where you tell us not to come, we end up coming anyway, and then we end up working together? And Scrooge is like,
welcome aboard.
Okay. There you go. I like that.
Yeah, so do I. But in the third part, the beginning of the third part, the Manny the headless man horse.
Yeah.
He touches like some spell gets cast on him, and all of a sudden, like he can move and like talk and everything again. And he's like, "I live, I'm free." And then what it turns out is what this thing does is it turns like non-living matter into living matter and vice versa. So what happens is he's a living like horse body with a stone head. What happens is his body freezes in stone and his head comes to life.
He can't. Yeah. Yeah. Is that what happened? I'm
That
so
that's what happened.
confused.
That's what happened. And his reaction indeed is basically just like, God damn it.
Yeah.
and
He's
we
like,
find out
oh,
and we find out that he's voiced by Keith David. And then
yeah.
after the spell is broken, he takes off the stone head and he's like, "Oh, I swore I would never do this again." And he grows a fucking gargoyle head, and a very familiar theme song plays, namely the Gargoyles theme, the do 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 do, and like bat wings like come out of his back.
And his skin starts like shedding
The
like
stone, yeah.
the stone, and his wings like break free, just like how the gargoyles like wings break free. And I'm like, nice.
I as soon as like when I first started hearing him talk and he was voiced by Keith David, I'm like, oh hey, that's cool. That's definitely Keith David. And then when he grows the head and I start seeing like the wings like emerge and hearing that theme, I'm like, oh shit, they're going for it.
They're going for it. I swore that I'd never do this again, but
Oh, that was a really hype moment for me. So much so
that was nice.
that I actually messaged Cal and I was like, there is a holy shit homage to something in the beginning of the third episode.
I enjoyed that a lot. Another thing I like is presume I like Launchpad, and they doubled down on him being dumb and lovable in the 2017 one.
Totally. They're
Much dumber, but nicer than classic Launchpad.
There are many, many, many laugh out loud moments, at least in what I've seen of the show thus
Yeah.
far, which, as I mentioned, is the first season and a little bit of the second season. There are so many laugh out loud moments that involve Launchpad. He's
I
great.
like how they do the character. And in the fight scene when everyone's getting overwhelmed and captured and it's just him, and he like has that like Captain America or like Iron Man and Pepper like moment, like whatever it is when like the like
So
gizmos. Go ahead.
so
Yeah.
I liked how they built toward this because I saw what they were doing immediately when like the robot duck, I can't remember what his
Steel
name is.
beak dude.
That when the robot
Um,
duck is like trying to like hack, so Darkwing Duck and Fenton, who is the guy who normally wears the Gizmo Duck armor, they're
right,
trapped in a
right.
cell, and the
And
little like robot thing is like trying to like hack the cell. And
because Darkwing's so stupid because he's all like, "Ugh, why would Gizmo like put you in the suit? Why wouldn't he come himself? Like he's in denial that who whatever his name was could actually be
Fenton
Fenton.
Crackshell is the guy in the
Could
suit.
actually be
Gyro Gear Loose is the scientist guy who built the Gizmo Duck armor.
yeah. Right, right. But yeah, you saw it building.
I saw them building toward it, so he's like, wait a minute. He tells the like robot duck thing. He's like, wait a minute, hack the suit. And so he hacks the suit, and uh, Launchpad is like trying to
Because it
is
was
like
short circuited at some point and
uh,
fell off Fenton.
something happened to it, and it caused the suit to go into like basically a reboot loop.
Yeah.
So the armor fell off of him. And that's how he got captured. And so when Launchpad is like in the middle of this fight, after the suit is finished being hacked, the camera like kind of zooms in on the suit, and the suit just says awaiting new user. And I'm like, I see where they're going with this.
Right. Yeah.
And indeed, Launchpad ends up becoming Gizmo Duck. It was
I like that. And
and I
it's
liked the
leading
build toward it.
it's leading it's building up to it because he feels like the dumb, like useless one in it with a bunch of heroes. And then it's
And Darkwing gives him a pep talk. He's like, "Oh, well, we may be, the heroes on the outside, but like you have the heart of a hero."
I liked that. And they're like, huh, who are you supposed to be? And he's like, I'm the pilot. And I was like, fuck yeah.
I'm a pilot, Launchpad McQuack.
And despite the number of times he's probably crashed, I don't know if I could ever bring myself to do that. Hauling like thousands and thousands of pounds of metal through the air. It just, and like being able to like do it safely. It's witchcraft, man. How metal, thousands of pound, be in air? Magic. How ship, millions of pounds of metal, float on water?
How car go vroom?
How car go vroom indeed.
I would actually, I wouldn't want to fly a plane. I would totally fly a helicopter, though. Yeah,
I feel like those are more complicated.
Well, if Microsoft Flight Simulator has taught me anything.
If playing Battlefield on Xbox Live has taught me anything, is that indeed no one does know how to fly a helicopter.
If playing Elite Dangerous has taught me anything, it's that learning how to control advanced machinery is the most complicated fucking thing
If
ever.
Elite Dangerous has taught me anything, it's to give up in 20 minutes of playing the game.
It's that I can waste an hour and not even figure out how to turn my engines on.
I've played the game like an hour. I'm like, I can't do this, man.
That game was such a. I think I paid like $30 for it. It was such a waste of money.
Got it like when it was like cheaper on like for $10 on Epic or something like that, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. Not for me.
20 minutes later, okay, we're not doing this.
Time to go back to Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Itself not a simple game. You can simplify it though, which I appreciate. You can either play in like full advanced like mode where you have to like adjust like every single dial and whatnot, or you can just like pick up a controller and kind of play a more streamlined version.
Can go, yeah.
Still haven't figured out how to land properly. Sometimes I like to just like free fly and like fly from Nanaimo to Victoria.
Oh, yeah. Just like, okay, like let's do this. Let's just see the sights.
Yeah, let's just, because it's like it uses like Bing, like Earth, like Bing maps to
simulate the
And like you look at it, like flying over like Nanaimo's like harbor, like looking down at the ground, like when
it's
you
pretty
see
cool.
it, like it's pretty accurate.
You're like, hey, that's where I am. I deep dived into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Not deep dive, sorry. I knew someone who did and had like the thousands of dollars of like equipment and everything in the community involved therein, and the people that practice to actually go get their like license and stuff. And I was like, whoa, like I didn't realize there's this like huge community like that's been like hard, like playing this game for like 20 years. Well, I say game, but like the iterations of Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I think the first one came out like 40 years ago, like in like 1980.
40 decades, right?
Like in 1982 or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they're still like and still attracting young people, and there's still like a niche, but like very like dedicated Microsoft Flight Simulator that community.
That one that just came out in 2020, I think, is quite good. It's on PC and Xbox.
Yeah,
it's quite good. It's hard, but maybe after
so is flying a plane.
Maybe after we're finished recording, I'll I'll
Go crash a plane or a
go
helicopter.
go crash a plane into like Victoria International Airport.
I'm
Why?
back.
Why, Jay? Here's CG.
Where were we
You just hear "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" like playing as I'm like doing like a kamikaze like dive. Or like I aim the plane into a kamikaze dive, but I like put on a parachute and open the door and like jump out like
do
do do
do do do. Now we're playing GTA.
Oh
Man, multiplayer killed the GTA franchise. Those motherfuckers were coming out every 2-3 years. Now it's been like 10.
it has been, or it's been 11 years now.
11. Fucking shark cards, man. If you listening, you bought a shark card, you're part of the problem.
You know, and the reason, well, and not only that, but also people being willing to buy the same game over and over again on multiple, like on whatever the latest platform is also part of the problem. That's why we don't have an Elder Scrolls 6 as of yet. And Skyrim came out 13 years ago.
I bought collector's edition on 360. Yeah. On 360. You know what? Fuck it. The voice controls for Kinect were dope and they worked really well.
Oh, for
Skyrim. Yeah. And I have Alduin's statuette. Like you've seen it, and I got the collector's edition and everything. No regrets. Oh man, like I want to say thousands of hours, but I have bought it multiple times. I bought it for PC so I can mod the fuck out of it like a decade later.
I mean, I've done it too. Like I've purchased anything you can like possibly play Metal Gear on. I have purchased a Metal Gear game on it.
There we go.
And I mean, I've even done the same thing with Skyrim. Like I had it on PS3 back in the day, or no, I had it on 360. It was PS3 that I had it on. I had it on PS3 back in the day, and then I bought it the like anniversary edition on like my Xbox Series console, and
hell yeah.
So I'm also part of the problem. But
We're
this
not
is
part
why
of the problem. But this is why we've had to wait 80. It's been 84 years for an Elder Scrolls game. Meanwhile, you stop it. Stop it. Nobody's playing Starfield. Nobody's playing 76. Stop it. Make fucking Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of people really like Fallout 76 now.
I know.
It only took like, what, 7 years? When did that fucking game even come out? Oh, it came out in 2018, I think. It took like 6 years, but people finally like the game. It's like, this is not sending the right message to developers, because the message this is sending to developers
is you can release broken ass shit.
You can release a shit game, but as long as you iterate on it for long enough, people will eventually like it.
Because the people that came when it was new stuck around and saw the changes happening in real time and were like part of the history. And then as the game gets better, those people say, hey, you should play this. It's actually better now. And it's like mounting, but like, no, like it was like over a year before it's like, hey, like they're NPCs with like dialogue now. But no,
yeah.
No. Make Elder Scrolls. I would pay $1,000 to get Elder Scrolls rather than waiting an additional 5 years. Like if I had gotten it in 2020, I would pay I'd pay that $1,000 for it instead of waiting till 2025, which is when we'll probably get a trailer.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think they said shortly after Starfield came out that it's at least like 5 years away still. I'm like, for Christ's sake.
Like 15 years we're going to be waiting. Because what was it? November 11th, right? 11/11/11?
Yeah. I was in my mid-20s when that game came out, and folks, I will be 40 next year.
I have an older friend that says, like, that game better fucking come out before he he nears his deathbed.
At this point, I'm beginning to wonder. It's gonna be like fucking 2030.
I don't want 76. I don't want Starfield. I don't want Elder Scrolls Online. Please, for the love of God, let me play 4K cat milfs in whatever province it's going to be set in. Please. You can only mod Skyrim so many times and play for so many thousands of hours.
No, I'll bet you anything before we even get Elder Scrolls 6, we're gonna get fucking Starfield 76.
Don't you dare. No. They're gonna keep
We're gonna get like the Fallout 76 version of like Starfield. Starfield, a game that I was hype on at the beginning, but I very quickly fell off of.
I hate that is probably true. I hate that so much. I'm almost teary-eyed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring you down. But the reality is, yeah, that's probably where we're headed.
We're going to be like 55 and be like, sweet, Elder Scrolls 6. And the youngins are going to be like, why is it called Elder Scrolls 6? And we'll be like, gather round, children, gather round the lemon tree. As we tell you.
Oh, it's gonna, at that point, it'll just be called The Elder Scrolls. Won't even have a number in it.
The Elder Scroll?
The Elder Scroll.
Yeah, like when something's rebooted after a long time and it's just the first one again.
Yeah.
The Elder Scroll. Right, and it's like set like way before all the other Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas. I mean, I'll take an Elder Scroll before Starfield 76.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Where the hell were we in DuckTales? Oh, they're all at the Library of Alexandria fighting.
Right. And so the what's his name? The big bad, Bradford Buzzard. He convinces Webby. He tells Webby like, "Hey, help me find like the greatest treasure of all, and I'll tell you why, what your purpose is and who your real parents are."
Red Brother is there, and he's ingratiating himself with, or someone is, because he's like, "I'm not a villain. I'm a businessman."
Yeah, because
protecting artifacts.
Huey is like a big. He's really into. I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically Cub Scouts. And Bradford Buzzard is like, I am the original Cub Scout, young boy.
And I'm not opposed to. Basically, your uncle's gotten rich. I'm a businessman. I want to preserve all these things. See? And like shows him like a library of like books and artifacts that he's like preserving.
Mm-hmm. And so he like kind of like pals up with him. Meanwhile, he manipulates Webby into grabbing the ultimate treasure, which is this like what do they call it? The golden papyrus.
Golden papyrus, and it only appears to somebody from the McScrooge lineage, which she doesn't know at the time.
The McDuck lineage,
I mean.
Yeah, we don't know at the time that doesn't get revealed until later on.
For some reason, she's special, and she could retrieve it when the others couldn't. The other villains and June and May couldn't.
Yeah, and wouldn't you know it? He immediately shows his true colors in that he wanted this golden papyrus to do up a contract that would bind Scrooge McDuck from not adventuring ever again.
Yeah, no more adventures for you, because he doesn't want chaos. And it's revealed he was the very first like Cub Scout. And his mom, an intrepid adventurer herself, pulled him around the world, going on dangerous adventures, and traumatized him. Essentially, he was a bookworm, a numbers guy,
Yeah.
right? And he didn't like that, didn't want that, and he wants to stop chaos.
Yeah,
and so by stopping,
we find out
Scrooge.
We find out that he basically was he was the first Cub Scout, but he was the worst Cub Scout and actually
the first
hated
and
it.
the worst. Yeah,
And actually hated it. And yes, his mom, an adventurer, made him do all of this stuff, and he didn't want to do
kind
it.
of feel for him. Like now he uses his business acumen to like collect and preserve artifacts. And he keeps correcting because in the League of Shadowy Villains, Foul, he whenever someone's like, truly villainous, and he's like, hey, I'm a businessman. I'm not a villain. Like that's his something that he constantly corrects the other villains.
He gets up to some villainy eventually, though. And the climax of this episode, so he takes the big glowing sword that one of the clones retrieved, and it makes him bigger, stronger, smarter, faster, and gives him this mystical
He's got like
suit of
a
armor.
magic armor, and the sword gave him the armor, right?
Yeah.
And it's revealed that the sword brings out who you truly are, like on the inside, when he starts doing villainous things.
So he has a bunch of hostages on the top of this mountain, and there's this like weird like red like vortex thing that apparently is supposed to transport people to other dimensions, but he's changed it somehow so that it just like sends whoever he drops into it into oblivion. Like it completely like obliterates them.
And and I'm like, at that point, just start lining people up and shooting them.
Right.
You're essentially killing them. And indeed, it reveals during the big like finale between Scrooge and him that he doesn't want to throw Scrooge in. He would like find a way out somehow.
Yeah, he said he's like, I'm not going to even bother throwing you into this thing because knowing you'll just find some way out anyway. And I'm like, I liked that little bit there.
Right? Like he doesn't underestimate his rival. Yeah.
This guy, Scrooge McDuck, has been such a thorn in this guy's side for so long that he's like throwing you literally into the void. Like you'll still figure out some way out of it, which I'm like, yeah.
And instead, he wants him to sign this magical contract. And on the last page, it's like a deep magic demon binding like contract made out of like magic gold.
Yeah, the golden papyrus that Webby retrieved. He draws up this like ironclad contract that he's been working on for 30 years.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. That basically says that Scrooge and his family and friends can all go free, but he has to sign this contract agreeing that he will never adventure again.
And the reason he's doing all of this is because he wants there to be less chaos in the world. But indeed, in the last few decades, it's been increasing. And connected to all of it, aliens, mummies, like time travel, like all that kind of stuff. It's Scrooge.
Yeah.
And by binding his family and making them not adventure, there can be some semblance of normalcy. And presumably on his part, like predictability and safety, right? Like he mentions it sometime in the in the movie, in the episodes that every time there's instability or chaos, the stock market like falls or crashes. And he wants like economic business stability, safety, and essentially like safety for himself, and wants things to be more predictable. And I'm like, huh.
It's a believable villain goal, honestly.
I like this. I've never seen this before.
It's not even really a villain goal. But he does get villainous in that he straight up just kills two of his henchmen.
Well, because Scrooge is like, yeah, but like then you still have your wacky like villains going about there. And he's like, you're right. And he like shoves the bitch like the mechanical like Iron Man claw hand
Well, he
like
starts
chick
off
into the oblivion.
by killing a couple of his henchmen, and then the mechanical arm lady is like, "Oh, how villainous of you!" And he's
As
like, "I'm
he's
not a
falling.
villain. I'm not a villain. I'm a businessman." And
And
then
she's like, someone's like, are you sure? That's pretty villainous.
as he like goes to toss her into the vortex, she just smiles. She's like, "Ah, I really have made a villain out of you."
Yeah. And I was like, well, if you're going to oblivion, that's good final words.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so he signs it, and he's like, ah, good. And as one final act of blah, 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 and he like kicks Donald into it after Scrooge signed it. And I'm like, wouldn't that be breaking the contract? And then it would become null and void. And then because you didn't let him and his family go.
I think Donald isn't actually a blood relative of Scrooge. Because remember, Huey, Dewey, and Louie aren't actually his nephews. But Donald is their uncle and Della is their mom. I'm not sure what
and Donald calls Scrooge Uncle Scrooge too.
I feel like he's just like an adopted uncle of theirs.
Okay. Yeah. No. He is, because it's revealed that Webby is technically blood.
Because
related.
We find out, and this was actually a shocker for me.
And it's not unbelievable. Like they built to it believably. Like I dig it.
She's a clone of Scrooge McDuck, and because Scrooge actually had no like blood like heirs of any kind, Bradford Buzzard, decided to create clones of Scrooge so that they could retrieve the golden papyrus. So he could use the golden papyrus to make this like supernaturally like binding contract.
Right, because they needed somebody from the McDuck line to retrieve the papyrus.
Yeah.
Papyrus. Papaya. And she was like, ooh. And then it's revealed by an even older McDuck as they're all being like hanging up, like they're all like being bound and they're all like captured together. And it was like, oh yeah, and it's like, because if May and June are clones of Webby, then who's Webby a clone of? And they're all like, it's like, oh, well, don't you know? And I guess her DNA was like mixed. She's essentially like a clone of, or the kid of Scrooge.
No, she's the clone. Because we find out that Mrs. Beakley, who's been raising her as her grandmother, found her in a foul facility.
Right.
Huh. And at one point, a character, I think it's Webby, says that, oh, Scrooge actually had no like blood heirs, so Bradford like just literally just created one because he wanted to retrieve the golden papyrus.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I thought that was like, after all the culmination of all of this happening, I thought that was believable.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and as they're kind of doing like the final fight, they find and all of this is revealed, which is a surprise to Scrooge as well. As they're doing the final fight and he's going full villain mode, the boys, me and the boys, they find like a clause. They find like a loophole in the contract.
Yeah. Oh, and there's Scrooge can't interfere in the fight at all. And
he's being held by like ethereal golden chains,
which only appear when he tries to like move to intervene in the fight. I thought that was a really cool visual.
Yeah. So if he's just standing still, it's nothing. But if he tries to interfere, like they like manifest as if they're like always on him.
Yeah.
That was cool.
It's a cool visual,
that's cool shit. Yeah. So Mega Man, like He-Man, like evil Mick Vulture, is like fighting the family, and the kind of like the thinking one, the brains one, the Cub Scout one. Um, with his brother's help, they find out that uh, there's like a loophole in the contract because um, family is a great adventure. So if him and his family
Yeah.
can stay together but stop adventuring, well, I, that was a little bit like Hallmark for me. That was a little bit like cheesy.
I like Bradford's reaction when they say that to him. He quite literally says, "That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard."
Like, thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
And then
that is literally just them like hanging the writers hanging a lantern on
Vin
him.
Diesel shows up with his hand on like the wheel of a car and like looks over and like does a nod and he's like, family. And then he runs over Vulture Man, and but you know what?
And we just see like the silhouette of like Paul Walker like sitting in the front seat of a car, like
And he
off in the
looks over on
background.
the other side and he just
nods and then drives away. Rip
it's
in peace.
been a long time.
Rip in peace, Paul Walker.
Right? There we go. We somehow tied Paul Walker into the DuckTale verse. I mean, it has every other character,
Right?
and but you know what? When you know it, that severs the contract.
Yeah, that severs the contract. And yeah, we get a we get a shot of like all of the family together, which includes like the Rescue Rangers, Kit Cloud Kicker from Tailspin, and a whole bunch of other like just some of whom I didn't even recognize, but they're apparently all like noteworthy characters from the show's past.
Mm-hmm. And they don't really need to defeat him. Like his like will to fight like leaves, or they knock the sword out of his hand or something like that. Because like he loses the armor and like the sword, and then like hot goth milf duck wizard shows up with some goons, and she turns him. She's like, oh, silly me for thinking that you could ever defeat Scrooge, and like turns villain guy into like a normal vulture.
Yeah.
Like just not like an anthropomorphic one. So like normal birds do exist in this world.
Yeah.
And that kind of made my mind. I was like, hold on. Do they eat chicken? Like, are there normal ducks? Like, do they go to the park and feed ducks? I like that opened up a lot of questions for me. And she turns him into a vulture, and he just like does vulture things. He like scratches at his feathers, and he flies over and lands on her shoulder. And then like she uses magic and teleports her and some goons away. I know that's silly, and I shouldn't like think about that, but like it's kind of like with Goofy, how he has a dog, Pluto.
I was just gonna bring that up. In like the world of like Goof Troop, there are also like non-talking dogs who act like actual dogs. Imagine if Bonkers had a pet cat.
Yeah, and it's just a normal cat.
Yeah.
So like
none of these questions and more will be answered in this episode of the Lasercomb podcast.
Fucking BoJack Horseman addresses that weird question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wait a second. Like, where does chicken come from? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Because they're all like anthropomorphic, like animals, right?
Yeah.
Developmentally cloned and stunted chickens. Yeah, the horror. Yeah. Soylent Green. On the plus hand, it's just like, okay, now that medically assisted suicide is legal in Canada, I could be a financial burden to my family, or I could go throw myself into the Soylent Green pit. I mean,
making
if it
the
solves the
ultimate
world,
sacrifice.
I make me into Wrigley's gum. I wonder how if you condensed me into my base atomic like particles, how many sticks of Hubba Bubba bubble gum would I be?
How many licks does it get to the cal neo cal center of a Tootsie Pop?
Ooh, my. It'd be like those stupid jawbreakers that they stopped releasing in Canada because like some kid choked up. It was like
Some kid like broke his tooth and then like swallowed his tooth and like choked to death or something.
something, but you remember we could buy them like the big ass like jawbreakers, right? That took you like weeks to lick through.
Are you talking about those big, like giant, like almost chalk like things that were on a
Yeah,
stick? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Fucking took weeks, and it's just
They kind of
very
had
hard.
they kind of had
And they had layers.
yeah, they kind of had a flavor and texture similar to rockets, but they
Yes,
were bigger and they were way
and it was
harder.
hard to get through. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The fucking kill a man with that thing. Like this, like a smaller version of like a pool cue, probably like harder to break.
Yeah.
Yeah, those. I think those are illegal here now.
Huh.
But we have Kinder surprise because our children don't swallow giant plastic golf ball shaped uh, toys.
Yeah.
That's right, American friends. You can come across the border and get Kinder surprise.
Ooh, what's the surprise?
Did it ever show you the pickle surprise video on YouTube?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Probably like 8 years ago.
I was going to
10
say it
years
was
ago.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
The
And
surprise is that you choke to death if you swallow it all,
that's right.
which shouldn't be a surprise, but it apparently is for some people.
That's the surprise. But yeah,
Surprise,
the
death.
surprise death. How does this episode roll come together? No death. Well, actually, some people die.
Some people actually died, which I was like, wow. Bold of you.
Worse
Disney,
than death?
to actually like kill off characters.
Worse than death? Because they're sent to like a plane of oblivion they can never return to?
The end is that basically everyone lived happily ever after. All the heroes are safe. Donald and his girlfriend are just about to embark on their like sailing trip, and they decide to take the clones May and June with them. Oh yeah, Webby.
Right.
We find out that Webby's name was April because she was the first clone.
Yeah, Project 87, 88, 8, yeah, or whatever they were like called. But when she was like hovering and she moved the window, or she like hit the X over the window blocking, I was like, it's April, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so Donald and his girlfriend are going to embark on their adventure together, and they decide to take the clones with them, which I'm like, that's nice.
Yeah, they were only partially murderous.
I mean, to be fair, look at the environment.
Slingshot back and forth between like wanting family and being wholesome. One of them was like stupidly like nice, and the other one was like more cunning.
I mean, to be fair, they are children, and they were being used by the person who created them.
Exactly.
So I think they deserve. I think they deserve a shot at redemption.
They do. Yeah.
Gosh dang it.
Gosh dang it. And yeah, it's revealed that Scrooge has a blood heir, biological heir, sort of. And then yeah, he's got a daughter, and Webby's got a dad.
She calls him dad, and he's like, dad, and she's like, dad. And then Mrs. Beakley like is happy, but also looks kind of sad, and like goes to walk away as like they're hugging. And then as she's walking away, like Webby like grabs her hand, and they like group hug, which I'm like, aw.
Yeah, I liked that.
The clear message of this episode, and it's a good message too, in my opinion, is it's the chosen family that is what's important.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And then as the credits go, that song, "It's Been a Long Time," just starts playing. And, Paul Walker rides up on the highway next to you and drives off into the distance.
The series ends with Launchpad like fucking up. He goes to like go be part of a group hug, and they're like, "Launchpad, who's flying the plane?"
Oh,
And
right.
Della is like, "I'm on it," and she takes control. And he's like, "Wow, wow, Launchpad, that was a real close call." And he goes and like leans over and opens like the cargo hold, and they all go flying
And
out.
they all get sucked out.
No
And then there's
parachutes, I might add.
no no parachutes as like the upbeat like theme like starts playing, and I'm like,
So we,
they're falling to their death, and like
yeah,
the theme song is like,
so we're ending the 2017 DuckTales cartoon with the happy upbeat theme as like all of the main cast are about to die.
and then as the song plays and the credits are playing, I'm like, wow, it's kind of dark. It shows like people like flailing and falling, and then like that sorceress chick, I can't remember who it is. She was like made from the shadow of like the MILF goth wizard.
Lena.
Yeah, Lena. She like uses her power and catches some of them. Some of them grab onto Darkwing Duck's cloak, which he famously would use as like a parachute. Gizmo like hovers and grabs like a few, and they all have like a different sequence of how they're like surviving like the fall.
I would have preferred that we just ended on the note of them like falling to their deaths. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg.
With that one chick like being like, "Holy shit!"
Huey, Dewey, and Louie are just like falling, screaming. Uh, we don't see anyone actually land, but then it just cuts to black, and it's like the
So
end. Thanks for watching.
I have a horror story about OG DuckTales.
Okay.
I can't remember when it came out or what year it was, but it was my last memory of DuckTales. And I was watching an episode, and I don't know if it like the slot it was in was wrong, or like the episode was edited wrong, but like they were all in Launchpad's like like water boat thing, right? And they were like going to crash, and there was a storm, like a hurricane or like a tornado and something. And he was like, "Hold on, oh, I don't know if we're gonna make it." And it actually seemed like it was building dread. And the episode just cuts, and there's a commercial. And then when it came back, it was credits. I never watched DuckTales again. I thought they ended it by just fucking crashing them into a hurricane and dying. And that was the last time I watched DuckTales. That's how freaked out and how much I actually thought as a kid. That's what I thought happened.
And so you're watching this as an adult, and you're like, "Oh God, not
Oh
again!"
no! When they all get sucked out, I'm like, no, no.
No,
And
kill
that
me,
immediately,
kill me.
kill me! I'm here. Do it. um, and I immediately had flashbacks to that, and I was like, oh fuck. But then it's like they all found a way to survive.
Yeah.
They're adventurous ducks. You know what though? They're anthropomorphic. They can't fly. I bet you the normal ducks in this world can fly.
Yeah.
You can't even glide. They should be able to, but they can't. Why
Well,
do they have feathers?
they don't have wings, they have arms.
Yeah.
No,
Why do they have feathers?
because they are descendants of dinosaurs, good sir.
Mm.
Non-flying dinosaurs, you see.
Like the noble penguin.
The mighty
Well,
chicken.
so you're saying that evolutionarily speaking, they're actually not related to ducks. It's just convergent evolution. They happen
Sure.
to have ducks and webbed feet, but they're not.
Speciation. I would say they have a common ancestor, and speciation occurred at some point. And
And
on
instead of humans, speciation occurred with all these other animals to result in bipedal,
yeah,
intelligent.
much like how we exist and we're bipedal and intelligent, debatable, but highly intelligent creatures. But we still have other like primates that are lower on the evolutionary ladder.
Well, we killed off the other smart ones. Like we killed off Neanderthal and like the pygmy. But there were other there were other smart different branches of hominid, but
Some of them we boned, and
that's true. Neanderthals
we have
DNA does.
we all have Neanderthal trace amounts of
Well,
Neanderthal
anyone
DNA.
from Northern Europe certainly does.
So some of the other bipedal primates we boned, and others we ate.
We ate. Yeah.
Yeah.
All this evidence of the Denisovian man, right? Like, or the Denisovian, or like whatever. All of these, like, it's almost like every decade there's like, hey, there's another intelligent, like, upright, like, species that like made tools instead. Yeah. Oh, when did they disappear? The same time Homo sapiens were said to inhabit the area. And I'm like, man, we could have had these multiple like species of intelligent things, and humans did what we do best. We fucking bashed them all over the head with a rock and ate them,
or fucked them,
or fucked them.
Or
so
both.
I guess Neanderthal, yeah. Or with Neanderthal, we did both. What if some of them were smarter than humans, but they weren't as violent?
Well, there were.
Looks like we came out on top.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why is just because of like our bodies had evolved in such a way to make us like more versatile. In like
spread out enough, yeah.
We were more versatile in the kind of environments that we could survive in and whatnot.
Yeah, it said that during the height of the last ice age, that humankind fell down to like a population of 10,000. So like we were almost gone.
Yeah,
it's like wild to think about. Like as the polar ice caps and like tundra like came and swept across like the northern hemisphere. Well, I hope that doesn't happen to this alternate universe of anthropomorphic ducks and dogs and, well, actually, no, there's multiple birds. Is there every animal?
I don't know.
Or just a lot of them?
There's dogs.
Yeah, there's definitely dogs. We've seen a variety of birds. There's not really like fish people, are there?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Thank Cthulhu, there aren't. Well, we just watched a random episode of 2017's DuckTales. Christopher Siege, would you tune in next week?
Absolutely. I'm actually going to watch the rest of the series. I'll probably just start again from the beginning because it was so long ago that I watched it. But yeah, no, I'm totally going to watch through this. I was really enjoying this today when I watched it today. Honestly, I think this is actually like one of the best series finales I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's definitely top 10.
Even without having watched it, I'm like, this is because they knew it was like going to end. It feels like they had 3 seasons planned.
Yeah.
Like it feels like an ending. Instead of this nebulous, will there, won't there be like a 4th season? No, it ended with all of them falling to their death.
You know what Avengers Endgame, when they're finally like on the battlefield at the end, and Cap is finally says "Avengers assemble," and like
the hammer like comes to him,
and the two armies just like converge on one another. It straight up looks like a George Perez like wraparound Avengers comic cover. Like that moment where it feels like everything has culminated into this moment.
This is the end game.
That's what this feels like.
It does. One of the things very early on, I was like, this feels like DuckTales end game.
Yeah.
And it worked, and it was silly enough, and it was funny enough, and there were enough references that like I've not watched none of it except this, and I liked it. And yeah, I think I mirror that. I think I'm gonna ask my partner if she wants to check it out.
Well, if you let me know if you still have my Disney Plus login, because if you don't, I can send it to you.
Ooh,
because it's all on there.
Sweet.
Well,
all right.
That was episode 76 of the LaserComb podcast. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. There's a bunch of tiers. We got a $5 tier that gives you access to our Patreon exclusive podcast, the Super LaserComb Patreon Super Show. Also, commentary tracks gives you the ability to pick a show for us, much like Cone Killer Confusor or Triple C himself. I'm going to start calling him that. Much like Triple C himself did, you can pick a show for us to review on this podcast. That's at the $5 tier. It's also a $10 tier that I had an idea of something to add, but we'll me and Cal can talk about that off air.
Yes.
And at the $20 tier, you get all of that, and you also get unfettered access to literally years of like archival, like outtake audio from every podcast we've ever done. It's a lot of content. Hundreds of hours worth of audio of us just bullshitting, basically.
Yeah.
So patreon.com/lasercomb. Follow me on Instagram at Christopher Siege. Join the Discord, link in the description as always. If you want, follow me on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, at Lasercomb, or at Lasercomb on Blue Sky if you're one of the seemingly like 12 people who actually use that platform regularly. I was really excited to get into it, but then, and I like the platform. It's just, there's nothing going on there.
Nothing going on there, man. You were waiting for that Blue Sky invite.
And now
waiting. And
now I have tons of invite codes that I literally can't give away. I've tried. No one wants them. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay then.
Yeah. Yeah, you can follow me. I'm on the Blue Skies too. NeoCal, and on TikTok, NeoCal. And I don't know, probably other places too. But the Discord is where you can actually like, is something I actually check. The LaserComb Discord.
We'll be back next week with episode 77 of the LaserComb podcast. And I've gotten a few submissions from a couple of people now. I'm going to cherry pick a little bit. And this is one that I think you are going to like. So this comes from our patron, Daniel. Heinrad80 himself. He sent me a list of 5 things to watch. And
usually ask for a list because we either get through them or it gives us an option.
Yeah, we can kind of pick and choose what order we want to do them in.
Yeah.
I'm also waiting on a list from our longtime patron Jared. So get that in, Jared, because we'll do you next after Heinrad's choice. But soon. Yeah. So of the 5 shows he pitched me, we're gonna go with Farscape.
Oh shit, dog. Hells yes.
I knew you would be happy about that one. So list of Farscape episodes.
Puppets, good. Space, good.
How many episodes does Farscape have?
Feels like a lot. That is a good question.
90. If you
90.
count the 2 TV movies, which Wikipedia does as episodes. All right.
Watch us roll 90.
If we land on the last episode, I'm getting kind of tired of doing series finales. We've done like 3 in a row now. I'm going to reroll.
Has it actually been in a row?
It's been 3 in a row.
It's been
RoboCop
DuckTales,
the series,
RoboCop series,
Tech War, and now DuckTales.
Oh,
For the past 3 episodes, it's been the last episode of a show. So if we land on the last episode again, I'm re-rolling. All right, gonna hit screen share here, and Alacanooch.
Canooch.
Alacanooch. So yeah, one random number between 1 and 90. Here we go. Where it stops.
Do.
19. Thank God. All right, what is episode 19? That is the first season. Oh, is it? No, yeah, that would be the first season. Ah, it's a 2-parter. God damn it. Nerve part 1. All right, no, I'm re-rolling.
Come on, people.
There we go.
I should have known.
15. Okay, what is that? Not a 2-parter. Durka returns. A collision with a Nebari ship brings a Nebari criminal named Chayana to Moya, along with a mentally cleansed Captain Durka, much to the surprise of Rigel. Those were words.
Those were words.
None of that made any goddamn sense to me, but
those were words. Yeah, I was going to be like, I watched the show, but those are words. It's sci-fi words. Don't worry about it.
It's sci-fi words and also Team America words, because the guy's name is Durka.
That's immediately what I thought about. I'm like, the guy's name is Durka. Really?
I'm going to try and refrain from making Durka jokes on the next episode.
And yet, it's an impossible act of willpower.
Well, I have to try, damn it. Anyway, we'll be back next week with that. And until then, I've been Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm NeoCal, your other host.
Thanks for listening. We will tailspin you next week.
We'll figure out if people eat chickens in Duckburg next week.
Bye-bye.